Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. Over the last few days we've been spending countless hours inside Brawls, private training battles, and every testing environment we could get our hands on. The goal wasn't to discover the next broken hero or force a brand new meta into existence. It was much simpler than that. We wanted to understand Crow better. Before we continue, a quick reminder for Hero Wars Alliance players on Android. Huawei AppGallery has 2 July promotions you won't want to miss. First, Huawei AppGallery has been nominated for the Pocket Gamer Mobile Games Awards 2026 in the leading App Store Experience category. If you've enjoyed using AppGallery, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a few seconds to vote. Voting is quick, free, and closes on July 20th, so be sure to cast your vote before July 18th. You'll find the voting link in the description below. Huawei has also launched the new Summer Playground campaign, where you can save up to 25% with coupons on eligible purchases. If you're planning to pick up emeralds or any bundles this month, it's worth checking out first. You'll also find the campaign link and the official AppGallery Discord in the description. Thanks for your support. We wanted to know which heroes truly unlocked his potential, because ever since his release we've been repeating exactly the same message: don't build a team and try to fit Crow into it. Build a team around Crow. And after hundreds of battles, something very interesting started happening. No matter how many heroes we swapped, no matter how many different combinations we tried, 3 heroes simply refused to separate. Every time we came back to them, the results were incredible. Soleil? Guus? Crow? So, for a bit of fun, we started calling it the SGC core. It actually reminds me of the old Hero Wars days when everyone knew what KJS meant, or when fart compositions completely dominated the battlefield. Well, I know I didn't invent the next famous 3-letter combination. But for now, let's call this one SGC, because honestly, after everything we've tested, this trio has been one of the most impressive foundations we've seen in a very long time. The hero that surprised me the most throughout all of this wasn't actually Crow. It was Soleil. The more I play him, the more I believe people are underestimating just how much he brings to a team. On the surface, you look at his skills and you immediately notice the armor and magic defense manipulation. He steals defensive stats from the enemy, redistributes them to your own allies, weakens both physical and magical compositions at the same time, and slowly turns every trade in your favor. That's already incredibly valuable because regardless of whether you're facing physical damage, magic damage, or even balanced teams, Soleil is constantly shifting the fight without you always noticing it. But that's only the beginning. Halo, in my opinion, is one of the strongest support abilities we've received in a long time. Protecting your frontline is already valuable because it reduces the damage they receive, but that's not what makes the skill special. What makes Halo special is everything that doesn't happen. Your frontline can't be stunned. Can't be silenced. Can't be blinded. Negative effects. Control effects. They simply don't stick. And if an enemy actually tries applying one of those effects, they're immediately reflected back for 3 seconds. Just think about that for a second. The enemy starts the fight trying to control your tank. And suddenly they're the ones losing control of the battle instead. Then we arrive at what is, in my opinion, the masterpiece inside Soleil's entire kit. Mark of the Ancient God. 15 seconds. That's an incredibly long time in Hero Wars. During those 15 seconds every control effect and every negative effect immediately punishes the hero applying it. Lian charms someone. She gets punished. Miu blinds someone. She gets punished. The enemy keeps trying to execute their normal rotations, and every single attempt slowly works against them instead. But Soleil doesn't stop there, because every point of damage received by the protected ally is immediately reflected back to the enemies. It's one of those mechanics that becomes stronger the longer the battle lasts, and that's exactly why Soleil feels so different from traditional supports. He isn't simply protecting your team. He's making the enemy regret everything they do. Then we move to the second letter of the SGC core. Guus. I honestly don't think Guus needs much introduction anymore, because we've talked about him so many times on Olympus Alliance. But once again he proves why he's one of the best sustain heroes currently available. Golden feathers spread across the battlefield, incoming aggression slowly transforms into healing, and fights that should normally fall apart somehow remain perfectly balanced. The longer the battle continues, the more value Guus creates. If you're running physical damage, especially heroes capable of producing massive critical hits, Guus not only keeps them alive but also allows them to continue applying pressure without constantly worrying about survival. And then, we finally arrive at Crow. The hero this entire composition was built around. The more we test Crow, the more convinced I become that players are looking at him the wrong way. So many people still see him as another control hero, but Crow is much more than that. Everything inside his kit revolves around one single mechanic: silence. Every additional silence on the battlefield makes Crow stronger. Every second an enemy remains unable to use abilities increases the pressure he's applying. And despite being classified as a control hero, his damage output is honestly impressive. That's why we've been saying since day one that the biggest mistake players can make is trying to squeeze Crow into an already finished team. Crow doesn't belong inside someone else's composition. The composition should be built around him. That's exactly why Soleil works. That's exactly why Guus works. And that's exactly why Tristan suddenly becomes incredibly exciting. Once we started adding Tristan into this core, everything began connecting in a way we honestly weren't expecting. Even before his relics are available, Tristan already complements the composition extremely well. But once those relics arrive, things become even more interesting. His first relic introduces yet another source of silence, immediately increasing the pressure Crow loves to play around. Level 10 extends that silence even further, making it much easier to keep enemies permanently disrupted. Then comes level 20, and personally I think this is where Tristan starts transforming the entire team, because he's now feeding additional energy into physical allies. More energy means faster ultimates mean more pressure, and more pressure means Crow spends even more time punishing enemies that simply can't respond. And then, there's level 30. The relic everyone always waits for. Armor penetration suddenly becomes another source of bonus damage, and immediately your mind starts connecting heroes together. Which brings us to Durain. I already know some of you are going to say, but Andre, Durain is an eternity hero. You're absolutely right. He is. But mechanics have always been more important than factions. Durain naturally has one of the highest armor penetration values in the game, and on top of that his crushing stat increases the entire team's ability to punish enemies even harder. Then there's Final Verdict, which remains one of the most satisfying abilities in Hero Wars. Every time those massive swords crash down from the sky and simply erase enemies from the battlefield. It's beautiful to watch. Now combine Durain's armor penetration with Tristan's new relics. Combine that with Crow constantly applying silence. Combine that with Soleil weakening enemy defenses while protecting your front line. Combine that with Guus transforming pressure into sustain. Suddenly every hero is supporting another hero. Every mechanic is feeding another mechanic. Nothing feels forced. Everything feels connected. And that's exactly why we've become so excited about this composition. Now, are we saying SGC is officially the next meta? No. Not yet. What we're saying is that after hundreds of battles, this is one of the strongest and most enjoyable cores we've tested in a long time. More importantly, this is only the beginning, because now comes the fun part. Different tanks. Different damage dealers. Different fifth heroes. Different matchups. There's still so much left to explore, and honestly, I think we've only scratched the surface of what this composition can become. So if you have these heroes, jump into Brawls. Jump into training. Start experimenting. Try different combinations, because metas aren't created by copying someone else's team. They're created by players willing to test ideas that nobody else is testing yet. And who knows? Maybe a few months from now, everyone will know exactly what SGC means. Until then, stay tuned. Stay sharp. Salute and friendship.